Hello and welcome to the final Doctor Who B&M review from the Winter Wave. Now I have reviewed the other figures like the Earthshock set, the 5 Doctor set, both versions, the First Doctor and TARDIS and the Planet of the Dalek set, so I'll leave a link in the description below to my Doctor Who figure review playlist so you can check out all those other reviews if you haven't already. So the way this video is going to work is I'm going to do the packaging, articulation and detail and compare the Daleks to other existing Dalek figures like the Emperor Guard Daleks and how character options have used other Daleks to create these variants. So let's dive into the packaging. The packaging for the History of the Daleks set 6, the Evil of the Daleks. So we've got the nice style guide packaging motif, what we've grown to love. The nice window box displaying the two figures there, the name of the set. The back of the box with information of Evil of the Daleks and behind the scenes information and 2 production images of the figures themselves. Backdrop wise for this set we have the Emperor Dalek there in his throne room, which works very well for the Dalek figures there, which is a nice little inclusion if you want to display the figures in the card insert. So here we have our 2 Daleks sort of feature within this set. So we've got a Dalek with the 1970s pupil, as one of the Daleks in the stories did feature that. So you've got your sort of grunt Dalek there. And of course we have the Emperor Guard Dalek there with a slight variation, which we'll look at when we do the comparison. Let's take a look at the articulation, then onto the detail and then comparison of these figures. Take a look at the articulation. Now the articulation is your standard Dalek articulation, so the dome can do a full 360-degree turn. The eye stalk can go up and down, 360 at the plunger, and of course 360 on the gun, and of course the Daleks do move round on their wheels, so pretty much standard Dalek articulation. Moving on to the detail for these Daleks, so I'm going to kickstart with the Dalek with the pupil. Now I have a soft spot for this Dalek because it reminds me very much of sort of the Product Enterprise sort of talking Daleks, what you would have seen in the Corgi Daleks, which was my sort of first ever sort of Dalek in my collection really, so this is quite nostalgic, and to have like a character option sort of tribute to that in a way is rather lovely. So if we take a look at the detail, so we've got this lovely sort of silver metallic finish, what we've seen on all the other 1960s Dalek figures that have been released in the History series, which really does make this figure pop and looks absolutely stunning. We have the lovely egg cup dome lights, which have been sort of cast in this sort of yellowy plastic, which really does sort of make the figure pop against this sort of metallic paint apps. And then the Dalek itself has the 1970s eye stalk, what we've all grown to know over the years, and of course that's been painted with the traditional 70s sort of colour scheme. Again, we have the neck bin section with sort of the traditional grating there, the mesh. It's done very nice with the sort of silver slats with the rivets and sort of the wire sort of section. Now the mid section has been fixed on the Power of the Dalek set. The mid section was sort of painted, was sort of left silver as you can see, but that has been rectified on the Evil of the Dalek set, which is very nice. Plunger wise, we've got the traditional plunger, what we know from the classic line, with slight extended to give that illusion that the plunger extends. Nice glossy finish to it, and of course the gun is the nice silver unpinched version, which is very nice. And of course we move down to the hemisphere section, which the hemisphere should be a lot darker. They should be a very dark blue, but that hasn't been done on these Dalek figures, sadly. And again we continue that lovely metallic silver paint apps, which looks great when you catch it in the light. And we have the slight scuffing on the fender of the skirt, which again makes it have that nice realistic look to it. So let's do a quick comparison to other 1960s drone Daleks from the Troughton era. So doing a little comparison to other 60s Troughton drone Daleks, so this is the Sound Effects Dalek from 2012. We have the Evil of the Daleks drone Dalek there with the pupil, and then the 2 Daleks from the History of the Daleks Power of the Dalek set. So again, got the great sort of metallic finish to them. The midsection is a lot sort of slightly darker than the Power set, as you can see, but not as dark as the Sound Effects one. But if we take a look at the dome lights, obviously the main noticeable difference is the eye. So if we move and take a closer look at the dome lights, so the dome lights are very much akin to the Sound Effects Power Dalek, but slightly more frosted and less clear than the Sound Effects one, as you can see there. But the detail on the neck bin section is exactly the same, but the eye stalk is where it gets slightly different. As you can see, it uses the 1970s Dalek eye, which is very much similar to the one what was seen on the Power of the Daleks history set there. And of course this is your traditional 60s Dalek eye for comparison there. Then gun wise for the figure, this has been updated non-pinched gun, whereas the original Power Dalek has the traditional sort of 70s gun where it's been slightly pinched inwards. But hemisphere wise, the hemispheres are pretty much the same colour as the other 60s Dalek. So that is a quick comparison to the 60s. Quickly looking at the detail for the Emperor Guard Dalek, very much the only difference really is the dome. So we've got the nice sort of matte black finish to the dome, very much the same detail for the egg cup dome light. Again, uses the 1970s eye with a slightly more lighter rings, which I think should be a lot more darker like they were in Power, but again these are a lighter colour. And again we have the 1970s Dalek eye stalk there, as you can see, where the pupil would be has been painted white to give that sort of squinting Dalek look, which does look quite menacing, but it shouldn't be within this story, because I think the last time the sort of smaller pupil was seen was in Power of the Dalek. So yeah, it's an interesting little variant. Detail wise, midsection exactly the same sort of standard 60s Dalek detail, again with the skirt section again has that lovely scuffed detail to sort of mimics the props, which is nice. So let's do a little comparison to the other Emperor Guard Dalek. Do a quick comparison to the other Emperor Guard Dalek figures. So this is the Emperor Guard Dalek from the Collector Set 2. This is the Toys R Us one from 2013, and this is the B&M version. So one of the differences, the dome is a slightly more sort of, I guess, sort of more has a slight gloss finish to it. Not very glossy, but has a slight more of a shine to it compared to the others. Dome light wise, it's very similar to the Toys R Us one, but again has a slight frosted effect to it. Hopefully you can see it on camera, it does have a slightly more frosted look to it instead of the clear look. Whereas this uses the Dead Planet Dalek dome lights, but the eye stalks are where the main difference is. So if I just turn these Daleks round, as you can see, this uses sort of the traditional eye stalk there. You can see that's been slightly painted, whereas the new B&M one has the 1970s eye to accommodate that slightly smaller pupil. There, the midsection is slightly more lighter than the other two, as you can see. Hopefully you can see on camera. It's got more of a sort of light, sort of greyish look compared to the other ones, where these are more of a darker grey and this is quite a light grey. Plunger wise, it's very similar to the Collector Set 2 and the B&M one, whereas the Toys R Us one has a matte finish. Gun wise, these two Daleks have the 70s gun what have been pinched, whereas this has the sort of traditional gun what should be on the 60s Daleks. And the hemispheres are pretty much the same colour. So there we have it, my review of the History of the Dalek set from Evil of the Dalek. So what do I make of this set? Well, I do like it actually. I think that this set, when it was first announced, I wasn't too keen on it. I was like, oh, it could have been a bit more exciting, you know, like a Wilkie Dalek. That would have been very cool to have seen in the line. But having it in hand, it's really grown on me. I think that this is kind of an underdog set. One of the highlights, and probably the highlight of the set for me, is this drone Dalek. To have a 60s Dalek with the pupil, it's very reminiscent of the Product Enterprise Daleks what you would have seen in like the Corky Dalek, which was my first Dalek in my collection. So it's great to have sort of a character options version. So I like to think that's a nice little tribute to that. So I do love this Dalek. It's just a nice little oddity when you put it up against the other 60s Daleks, and really does stand out. The Emperor Guard Dalek is a nice little variant to have. Though inaccurate with sort of the eye, I can forgive it. It's a great little addition, and since seeing the animation with like loads of the Emperor Guard Daleks sort of moving around the city of Skaro, it's great to add another one, as my original one can be sort of used as a destroyed one there, because the dome just sort of pops off when you move it. So yeah, it's nice to have another sort of Emperor Guard Dalek. Despite the little inaccuracies, like the hemisphere should be a lot darker, and I think the rings around the eye, but I still love it. I think that it's a nice little addition, and definitely worth checking out, and definitely worth picking up and having a look at, because it's a great little set and a fun little oddity for your 60s Dalek shelf. So thank you very much for watching this review. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe for more Doctor Who figure related content. I will be doing a Doctor Who figure collection very soon, and my top 10 figures from 2021. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time, and bye bye.